that 56% of Americans oppose President Trump's national emergency declaration. Sean Spicer's with us, America First Action Senior Advisor and Spokesman. All right, Sean, I want a wall. I think the emergency declaration is the right thing to do, but it's not popular with voters. How do you see this?
Well, look, I think both parties have made it very clear where they stand. The president wants to keep the country safe, stop the flow of drugs and migration, illegal migration, human trafficking at our southern border, and Democrats clearly are on the side of continuing to allow it. There's no other way to read the story. If you want to be against the declaration of a national emergency, then fine. Come up with another way to solve the problem. The House could have passed a bill where they extend funding and other resources to our southern border, but they didn't do it. So the question is, what are they for? They've now been against everything. And you can only conclude if you're against everything that you're okay with the problem. If Nancy Pelosi, as you earlier noted, doesn't think there's a crisis, then when something happens, whether it's the continued flow of drugs over, the trafficking of individuals through the southern border, the illegal flow of migration some of whom have committed crimes in this country, then you are then responsible for that problem. And I think that what the president needs to do is say, look, I've tried to work with Congress. I've tried to seek funding. I've tried to declare a national emergency. They've rejected me at every step of the way. And therefore, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats have come down on one side. I've come down on another. You, the American people, with this upcoming election, choose which one you believe in.
Before I go on, Sean, I do want to tell you that at the Michael Cohen hearing, Republicans are pressing for a delay on the grounds that they have not seen and didn't have much time to see new evidence, which Mr. Cohen reportedly will present to that committee. So there's a lot of wrangling. It's a procedural wrangling going on at this particular moment. But, Sean, back to you.
Stuart, on the procedural point, I think there's a larger point that's getting lost on this. Whether or not you agree or disagree with President Trump, you support him or not, we used to have decorum in this country where when the president was traveling abroad, we kind of piped it down domestically. And the Democrats could have scheduled these hearings with Michael Cohen anytime they wanted. They knew when he was going abroad. He's not just traveling abroad through Europe for some kind of ceremony. He's sitting down with the leader of North Korea to try to solve the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, which would make not just that peninsula and that region safer, but the entire world. And the idea that we're facing this split screen, which is one thing, it's a cute little circus, but frankly, as someone who used to work there, it's a distraction. The president and his team should be putting in every ounce of effort into making sure that the world is becoming a safer place, something that he has already started to succeed on by North Korea not firing a missile. And the idea that the Democrats scheduled this hearing for this day, it would be malpractice for the White House not to pay attention. They have to know what Michael Cohen's saying, the accusations that he's lobbing, which means that every second that they're doing that, they're not focused on making the world a safer place today. And I think it's rather disgraceful. So you talk about procedures and the Republicans doing this. We've got to go back a little bit and talk about why we're even here right now. This hearing could be scheduled tomorrow, next week, and it would have been fine. That's Congress's role. They have a right to have the hearings that they want to and call the witnesses they do. But the idea that they chose today of all days really says a lot about the current Democratic Party.
Well said, Sean Spicer. I agree with you entirely, and that was a point well made just as this wrangling gets underway. Mr. Spicer, thank you very much for being with us today. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Stuart.
Sure. Let's get the markets. So we're down a little bit more than where we were. Right now we're off at 78 points for the Dow Industrials. I want to bring in Jamie Cox, Harris Financial Group. Jamie, the way I look at it, this toxic political atmosphere and these hearings, the Cohen hearings, they don't seem to have any